Good morning. It's Friday, February 28th. Last day of February for this year, 2025. This morning I was in Judges chapters 13 through 16, and the verse I wanted to share on was chapter 13, verses 3 through 5. Chapters 13 of Judges, 3 through 5. Here it's the story of Samson's life, and his mom and dad haven't had children. She's barren, and God comes to her and tells her she's going to have a child. And the angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her, "Behold, you are barren and have not borne children, but you shall conceive and bear a son. Therefore, be careful and drink no wine or strong drink, and eat nothing unclean. For behold, you shall conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb. And he shall begin to save Israel from the hand of the Philistines." So the Lord comes, and the angel of the Lord comes. We find out later, if you read the whole chapter, it's Jesus. It's Jesus presenting himself in the Old Testament, and he speaks to them, and he tells the wife, husband's not there. He tells the wife, "You're going to bear a son," and he tells the wife, "So don't drink wine or beer, don't drink anything alcoholic, don't drink anything strong, and because you're going to conceive a son, and then when he's born, no razor shall come upon his head. Don't cut his hair. For the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb." From the time he's born, he needs to take the Nazarite vow. You take it for him. You make sure he doesn't cut his hair. And that was a certain vow that certain people did that had a relationship with God. And there were certain things that they couldn't do, and cutting their hair was one of them. "And he shall begin to save Israel from the hand of the Philistines." Of course, as a mother, you'd wonder, what do you mean? How is my son going to save his people from the hand of the Philistines? Because the Philistines would come down every single year and take all the people's crops. They were their enemies, and they ruled over them. They basically made the life of a Hebrew person in Israel miserable. And so God's telling this mother, "You're going to have a son, and he'll save his people from the Philistines. So make sure you don't drink anything strong. Make sure you don't cut his hair." So she goes and tells her husband, and then down in verse 8, the husband wants to know more about it. He says, "Oh Lord, please let the man of God whom you sent again to come to us again and teach us what we are to do with the child who will be born." He's already told them. He's already given them instructions. Don't cut his hair. Let him live with the Nazarite vow. That's all God's told them. He told the wife, don't drink anything strong. Don't have any alcohol. But the dad, of course, he wants to know more. Wow. So how do we raise him? If he's going to defend his people from the Philistines, how do we raise his kid? What's our instructions? What do we do? Then down in verse 11, the man comes back. He's prayed, "God, can you send him back?" So he comes back, and the wife comes, and she says, "Hey, that man came back. The angel of the Lord came back." He says, "Are you the man who spoke to this woman?" He said, "I am. Now, when your words come true, when my wife has his baby, what is it to be the child's manner of life, and what is his mission?" In other words, so how are you going to use my son, and what do we do? How do we raise him? What's his mission? How do we prepare him? And the angel of the Lord said to him, "Of all that I said to the woman, let her be careful. I've already given her instruction, and let her do my instructions. Let her be very careful to do what I told her. She may not eat of anything that comes from the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, or eat any unclean thing, all that I have commanded her to observe." It's interesting, because God's already given them instruction. He's already told them what he wants them to do. But he hasn't told them the whole story. but he's told them what he wants them to hear at this point. But the Father is like us. The Father wants to know more. The Father wants to know, what does this mean? The Father wants to know, so what do I do in the future? How many times have we like, okay, Lord, you want me to do this? So what's the outcome? How, we're looking a week, 2 weeks, 2 years down the road. And the Lord's given us instruction for today. He said, hey, get up and do your job. Maybe he told you this morning in the Word, be kind to people. And so you're worried about the future. Lord, what do I do when I get ready to retire? How do I retire? Lord, I don't own my own house. How do I buy a house? And the Lord's, you're not ready to buy a house. The Lord hasn't told you how to buy a house. He may never tell you how to buy a house. He may never have you buy a house. The Lord is interested in us being obedient today. If I cannot do the things that God has called me to do today, how would I ever do what he's called me to do in the future? Most of the time, not always, but most of the time, the Lord doesn't tell me about my future. Outside of that, I will spend eternity with him. Outside of that, he will never leave me or forsake me. But he does tell me about today. He does tell me to love him and love others today. He does tell me how to behave today. He does assure me that he will be with me today. And so he doesn't want my mind asking questions about the future, because he's not going to tell me most likely.